CNN News.
We're going to talk about, actually, as I said, I'm not going to do that much talking, at least for this segment. We're going to watch a couple of video clips. So if you've been at school, you know about Rosa Parks. Monday was the 70th anniversary of her resistance in terms of refusing to give up her seat on the bus, which kickstarted the civil rights movement, as we've learned in school. So we're gonna watch that a little bit. I mean, I think obviously you guys know about that, but there is a video that I do want to show later that kind of talks about how she might not have been the first person to actually resist in that way. So we'll watch that a little bit later. So we will start. All of this came from ScheerPost, by the way, and I think this is kind of curated by their staff. I don't think there was any one person who, and they only put a couple of clips together, so I'm not sure, but whatever. So
pulling it up. Hold on. Did that fun? Just a little bit, but it's all right. It's one slide got screwed up, but it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just this weird program we use that does one thing, and I've not found a replacement for it. But hold on. There it goes. Come on.
There.
Yeah, I had to just open a new thing.
Okay.
That.
All right. So
that's the one slide that got screwed up, and then we could go back to the other.
This one.
That's the only one.
All right. So this is from ScheerPost. So their staff curated really the clips for this. I do not take any credit for this at all. But they report 70 years today, Monday, since Rosa Parks sparked a movement with one act of courage. So they write, 70 years ago today, Rosa Parks refused her seat on the bus. We remember her act of defiance not as a solitary moment frozen in history, but as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for racial and economic justice. Parks' refusal to give up her seat was a catalyst for mass collective action, the kind of grassroots organizing that still drives progress today. Well, I think you have a clip kind of going against that a little bit, but we'll get into that later. Honoring her means recommitting to policies that dismantle systemic racism, protect voting rights, strengthen workers' power, and ensure every community has the dignity and opportunities she fought for. Her legacy calls us to keep pushing, keep organizing, and keep imagining a more equitable nation than the one she confronted. So we're going to play this clip. This is from Knox News.
Okay.
So you might have to speed this up a bit because I think it's about 8 minutes long. But it basically goes into the legacy that Rosa obviously left behind on her day, which, as I said, as of this recording, was on Monday, December 1st. So we'll watch the clip, and we'll continue with our commentary.
Well, I was at Tennessee State University. The year was 1955. We could hear the commotion that was going on because I think this incident had just happened. We were close looking at the TV and the radio so that we could hear everything that was going on because I think that was sort of the beginning of the civil rights movement.
Yeah. We are so excited because this year we are commemorating and celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott. On December 1st, 1955, Miss Rosa Parks, took a defiant stand, or I guess seat, if you will, really for justice, if you will. And it was one of those moments in history that really sparked or ignited a movement. It will spark the Montgomery bus boycott, which will last 381 days in Montgomery, Alabama, and really change the trajectory of history in our country.
Hey,
so
Jax.
Fighting
Appreciate you, Jax.
in and of her own rights, but the fact that it's a woman, I think, in particular in that moment, really bodes well for the extraordinary people.
Much love from Mexico.
Who did just extraordinary things. We are commemorating and celebrating that 70th year anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott and Miss Rosa Parks with Rosa Parks Day. It's a really beautiful tribute to this amazing woman, but it's also a tribute to our community and the great people of East Tennessee. There was a time in history when we couldn't sit together. There was a time in history when we couldn't connect with one another. There was a time in history where history tried to separate us. And because of Miss Rosa Parks and so many like her, history changed. I love talking to the ladies in this community because sometimes I think we relegate history to the national stage and the national names, but that's what BEC does. BEC is the place where African American history is preserved and conserved for generations to come. And we lift the voices of all of our people in our community. The nation was having a national movement. The movement was going on right here in Knoxville. People were having their own experiences. So I think if you really want to know what was life like in Knoxville, you got to talk to people who lived during that time. So that's what we're going to do. Let's talk to some folks who lived history.
Lived in Louisville, Tennessee, which is on the outside of Knoxville. We still had to ride the bus. But from where I lived, first place to even get to the bus, I had to walk 3 miles. After walking 3 miles, you would just get on the bus and obedient, go to the back. 7th grade, I just did what was the law. Catch the bus and do it, drink out of the colored fountain. That's the only thing we knew.
It's the only thing you knew.
I guess my race of people make me the proudest is because it seems like we're content when in actuality we're thinking about why is this happening? And that's why we just kind of all jumped into the movement when it did get started. I guess it was 1958 when I graduated from college. I've just graduated from college and I need a job. He says, well, there are no colored vacancies here. So that was the law. Like Lindsay said, you just abide by the law back then. 8 years later, I had to come back to Knoxville. And guess what they were doing? Integrating the schools. And he asked me, do you mind teaching in a white school? So guess what I asked him? I said, do they have children there?
During that time, I had a similar experience as Rosa Parks. I was living in Miami, Florida. I got on this bus and I sat on the seat just as you exit the back door. And the bus driver looked back. He said, you can't sit there. You have to move. I responded, no, I'm not moving. I paid as much as anyone else to ride this bus. The policeman came on the bus. And he told them I refused to move. They told me they were sorry. They would have to take me to jail, which they did. So when I went to court, the plaintiff wasn't there. So the judge told me, so we can just dismiss it if it's okay with you. Well, I told him okay, which I regret to this day.
Were you afraid when you went to jail? Or
No. I felt that it was a great injustice, and I always felt that it was wrong.
okay.
And I never felt less, than anybody. I don't know, it's just in my DNA.
This affects not only our community, but the entire country. It took over 3 years between the Montgomery bus boycott and what led to the U.S. Supreme Court decision. So it was a long period of time that they continued this bus boycott, and a lot of people were involved in it. So it's very instrumental in how we got to 1964 Civil Rights Act and whatnot. So
what I'm so very, very proud of is that we were segregated, but we rose up. It just wasn't this way. You got on the bus, you happily went to the back, you walking on the sidewalk, they come by, push you off the sidewalk, you got off the sidewalk, let them go by. They were just so mean. And you just wonder why. But
I thought about that for a long time, the irony that's in that story. I couldn't get a job because they were not integrated in the schools and I was Black. And then when I came back to town, they were integrated in the schools and I was still Black.
I think women in the movement and women in history have always been extraordinary because they've always found a way to be resilient, even if it meant that they may not be the voice of that resiliency. They may not be the face of that resiliency. They were the power behind that resiliency. Rosa Parks left legacy. She left something bigger, something greater that each one of us can tap into. I hope that as we celebrate and as we commemorate, that we get excited about learning about more people in history who did extraordinary things that inspire us to also want to be extraordinary.
Well, I think it's very important that we know our history. We must never forget, because we're standing on the shoulders of all of the civil rights activists and people who suffered the most brutal treatments that we can even imagine. Our children need to know that.
Each of our generations, we're going to get stronger and stronger. And I also agree that the foundation of us getting stronger and stronger has been built on nothing but love.
So just to hear some perspectives, from people who lived during that era. But it's funny, obviously, like Rosa Parks, she's the face of the movement. We'll get more into this later. But these women also, not implicitly, they openly said they went through similar stories, in terms of sound of us, didn't want to move, went to jail, all the things, so which kind of puts into context the clip that I'm about to put in, about to show in a second. But I think this is, look, here's the thing. And I think this was obviously, like, I want to be very careful about this in terms of, like, obviously, I don't want to take anything away from Rosa in terms of her action. But at the same time, I do think that her story is somewhat, like, idealized in a way in terms of her, like, she, like, almost kind of like she was the savior who, like, started the movement, when generally speaking, like, and I think we always do this with every, like, mass um like resistance. Like, there's always going to be one person who kind of becomes the face of it, when it's actually like the people are the ones collectively, who are doing the work. I think if you kind of look at someone like Chris Smalls, who we reported on years ago, like, he became the face of, the Amazon strike. But as we have reported and interviewed several people, like, on this network over the last few years, and you can check in our archives for that, like, the work involved a lot of people. Like, it wasn't just him, but Smalls became the face of it. So I think it's just a reminder for us that where there's one, there's often many, and we should hear those stories too. In addition to the one that's getting the most press / screen time.
Yep. I mean, I feel like it's also just like this is a generation ago. Like, it's not, people kind of think of it as distant past, like
Right.
like there's still people alive, like, who remember this,
Hmm.
So, but
And
yeah, I mean,
I think it's just, but I think it's just the idea of, like, how much further along have we really gotten in 70 years
yeah,
in terms
not
of
much.
not much relatively, which is why you have to kind of look at our current state of government, and as to why we are not farther along
And
in terms of economic justice and racial equity, that people in this country say that this is what we stand for, when, like, we still have issues with race, we still have issues with economic injustice, we still
well,
have
that's the
issues.
problem. No one wants to deal with the underlying problems with any of this. Like, and that kind of leads me to our next story at some point. But, it's a very similar thing of, like, these people aren't, they're not pushing for the underlying issues to, like, get dealt with,
Right.
Like,
But
it's
I think
easy to
back
take the, like, initial, like, a problem. It's all the underlying shit that American empire doesn't want you to deal with, So,
Right. But that's the thing. It's like people like that back then, I think, had a better idea of what needed to happen. Like, MLK talked about UBI before Andrew Wang did, like, in our recent memory. So there were ideas in terms of universality, and we kind of I say that word a lot, because, like, it's truly the only way. And yeah, there might be issues with it. I think if you can kind of look in terms like, well, why would a rich person deserve the same thing that I'm supposed to get and I'm poor? But it takes away the, like, I have nothing or they have something kind of issue. Like, look at Social Security. You don't knock on a millionaire for getting Social Security necessarily. I haven't heard that, like, argument yet. Although I will also argue that Social Security may not be a thing by the time we're in our 60s. Um, but I think it just kind of takes away almost the jealousy of terms of I have versus you don't deserve. It's the idea of like, on the basis of a human, this is what you get. And what you choose to do with that is up to you. So, but I think back then, you know, these are probably our grandparents' age, in my case, my dad's age, my
Right.
parents' age, because they're much older. They had this idea already, and how we're not talking about that universality of policy anymore. It's like, oh, we just have to reform it, or we just have to tweak it. Not we need to truly radicalize it to ensure that it's
shit
just
doesn't
this way.
happen again and again and again, you know?
Right. And I feel as a result of that, we've kind of gone backwards in a lot of ways. And you'll kind of get into that later with the clip that you're going to show later. But that aside, so let's go back into the PowerPoint. So I did want to bring up another clip.
This one.
Where let's go to one before that. I'll see if I can do it. There we go. I do want to read this first. But again, this is from ScheerPost. Not sure who's I here, came across this 2023 video and found it really interesting. Without taking anything away from Rosa Parks' courage, this interview offers an important perspective. In this special Hype Plus conversation, Margaret Duncan Birch shares her firsthand account of being on a segregated Montgomery bus when 15-year-old Claudette Colvin refused to give up her seat, months before Rosa Parks' historic stand. Birch explains why she believes Colvin deserves more recognition for her bravery and how her story has too often been overlooked. So let's get into this clip that gives this perspective, and we'll finish out with our segment.
Play.
You bet I did, and I told him I didn't like that. I don't think it's right. I would go to the meetings and say things, this is wrong. She's not the first. I'm on the bus with Claudette. She's the first. I think there's a lot of lies been told. A lot of lies were told. Margaret Johnson Birch, age 91, born in 1932. And I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. I came up as a child, I would call it a struggle. You didn't have no money. Your parents didn't have money. You had to get out and work. I started working at the age probably 13 at downtown Montgomery at the train station. Trains were running in Montgomery then. In a cafeteria. I knew how to cook from the age of 6 or 7. So that's how I started. I didn't go to school like most girls because my mom had 12 children. By me being the oldest, I had to stay home a lot of days out of school. And of course, I got behind in school. But as I grew older, I went to work and promised myself that I was going to finish high school.
Okay. As far as one thing about Montgomery, it has been a place known to help start off the civil rights movement.
Of course.
At what point did you see race as a youngster? When did you experience it? When was your first racist encounter for yourself that you can recall?
My first race encounter was when we had to walk to school every day. So you had to catch the City Line bus, of course. And if the bus is full of white people in the front, then the bus driver would hand his hand out the door. He wouldn't let you come through the front door. You hand him the money and walk to the back. And there have been several times where I encountered with the race on the bus. He would pull off after you give him the money and see you standing there. So those were my struggles most every day, trying to get to school and back.
One of the big things that happened with the bus driver, speaking of that, is you were to have this boycott that took place. one that would Rosa Parks become like the face of this movement. But we would later find out in history that there was somebody else.
Yes.
Claudette Colvin. What's your relationship to her?
She was my neighbor.
Wow.
She was 15 years old. She wasn't old as I was pregnant. That was in 1955, March. So she sat down in the white section. You had a long seat here for the black and black over here. But she sat over here where the white people sit.
Okay.
And of course, he looked through the mirror and saw her sitting there. And he immediately started hollering, "Get up back there. Do you hear me? Get up. Get up back there. Do you hear me, girl?" And stuff like that. She didn't move and she didn't answer him not one time. And by me being older, and I'm saying to myself, why don't Claudette move? Saying to myself,
So you're seeing this.
I'm looking at this.
You on the bus.
I'm on the bus. I'm looking at her. And she in the wrong seat. I'm saying to myself, because I knew he's supposed to come and hit you and beat you up.
Right.
That's what I was afraid he was going to do. But when I said that, she don't have to do nothing but stay black and die. And when I said that, he immediately got up out of the seat. I stood up and braced myself because I thought he was coming to hit me. But he didn't. He went straight by me, went out the back door, went in the cafe and called the police. They came to the back door, went to her seat, picked her up like she was a baby, took her out of the seat, went out the back door and threw her in the police car.
Are these white officers doing that to her?
That was always white then. You didn't see no black officers then.
Okay.
Just white.
Got you. What's happening in your mind? Are you thinking they about to come for you next?
I thought they was gonna come and say something to me, but they did. He came back to the bus and he continued his route and put us off the bus, and we went straight to. We called that lady Aunt Shug, her auntie house, but we all called her Aunt Shug, you know, and told her what happened to Claudette, that she was in jail.
Wow. And Claudette was pregnant at the time?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Got you.
Now I hear people say that. I don't know whether she was pregnant or not. I can't say that.
Understood.
Right.
Now,
but I did say whatever happened to her, it happened to Rosie. She was recognized. Whether she was a 15-year-old girl, she was a human being. And I think that was wrong to treat her like they did.
and how did you feel they treated her?
They didn't recognize her as being the first person that was Rosa Parks. She got it. She was working down there with some black people at the NAACP or something. But she was working at the Montgomery Fair. She sold there. And they got her, I guess they just got together and got her to do, and I always say they did because she was real light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still would say that. Claudette was dark skinned.
Yeah.
This lady was lighter than me.
Because that was the conversation that I was seeing, was that they felt that Rosa Parks was like a better image for
a better person for the job.
So they could push this. And
Push
this was
it on.
this was the NAACP putting this together?
Yes.
Wow.
And this man that was really behind it, he was a porter on the train, but he was in that organization. He was in it. And I always say that from my perspective, he was going with her.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got you.
Oh, yeah.
Got you.
It was something going on between him and her.
Got you.
Because Miss Rosa Parks' husband left Montgomery way before she did.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys know Rosa Parks? Was she like someone that you knew?
I never knew her. All I knew from what they read, when I read it in the paper the next day, that's how I knew her. I didn't know she worked at Montgomery Fair. And I've been in there many times to buy shoes. But she was the seamstress there. But I never knew her.
Got you. Now, as far as Claudette, when she would get arrested, did her parents have to rush down to get her out? Like, what was the process to get her free?
Lawyer Gray had just finished law school in Cleveland, Ohio. He's from Montgomery, Alabama. They just named a street in his honor over there, Jeff Davis, Lawyer Gray. They just gave his name, changed his name, because he was the first lawyer that they called. And right out of law school, he didn't know what he was doing. He just came and took the case and went from there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing could be said when you look at this is you mentioned that you felt that Claudette, her skin color may have been the reason. Were there other reasons why you think they decided not to pick up Claudette's
Well,
case?
from what I hear, she was pregnant. Someone said that, but I can't say that because I don't know.
Did you have any like animosity when you saw Rosa Parks get all this love and people pushing her and saying
You
that she
bet I did. And I told him I didn't like that. I don't think it's right. I would go to the meetings and say things. Yo, this is wrong. She's not the first. I'm on the bus with Claudette. She's the first. In fact, Claudette wasn't the first.
Mm,
Miss Smith was the first one, but they
okay,
never recognized her.
got you.
But they gave her a plaque in her yard 2 weeks ago. Look how long that's been. They set up a big plaque or whatever for her. They trying to, you know,
Fix it.
fix it.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Was
Process that I knew when I would go to some of the meetings at Hope Street Baptist Church. That's where they met at. Until my husband stopped me from going because he figured it was kind of gonna be bad over there. In fact, it was. But anyway, they always got Rosa Parks into everything and anything. I mean, and then I say, well, was she? I don't care if she was 15 years old. She still was a human being.
Mm.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. How did Claudette feel about it?
Hmm.
How did Claudette feel about it?
Oh, Claudette was bitter.
Yeah.
She's bitter to this day. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so in this aspect, who do we blame? Is Rosa Parks to blame for this? Is the NAACP to blame for this in terms of
Rosa Parks is not to blame. She was just going about what they did for her. And I guess that was okay with her.
yeah.
I blame those people, the NAACP and that Porter, that main, and he's the main one. He worked on the train station.
Okay.
He got a name after him over there. I can't think of it right now, but it's in that book. They pushed it, and he was the main one pushing it.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
So Rosa Parks would become the face of the boycott, the movement. What do you think things would have looked like if Claudette would have got that spotlight?
Oh, I can't. I couldn't really say. I just wouldn't even see her being pushed. I don't think they would have ever pushed her. I really don't. They had what they wanted and they used it and they went on with it worldwide.
So is that like one of our biggest lies that we've been told in terms of like Black history?
I think there's a lot of lies been told.
Mm.
A lot of lies were told.
Shout out to Hype Plus.
Yeah.
Interview. You heard it when I was playing it last night, so I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear.
Oh, well, I'm
what you
definitely
thought.
like. I mean, it definitely feels like, we always get these like whitewash stories of that era anyway.
Mhm. Right.
Like if we get them at all. So like I'm not surprised like that these particular instances never got coverage, especially when you bring in the colorism and like
Yeah.
Young mother, that kind of stuff. Like the NAACP at that time was an organization. Who was running it? Do you remember who was running that at that time?
I don't remember after that. I know we reported on it, but I forgot at the top of my head.
Right, but it's it was like I mean, essentially they're trying to do anything that like organizations now would be trying to do, right? Although they
it kind of reminds me of AOC in a sense, like
sure.
marketed as, oh, this girl from the Bronx, and she was born in the Bronx, but she lived most of her life in upstate New York.
Yeah.
So it's kind of misleading, but I do agree the idea of colorism kind of came into play, with Rosa Parks in terms of, and
Which
someone in
was
the chat said, yeah, she
a
was
thing
lighter
back
skinned.
then too. I mean, it's a
Right.
thing now,
So-
but like especially
Right.
that
But
like
I
what
think
was
especially
what was
but I
that
think the
classic
idea-
scene in Malcolm? The classic scene in Malcolm where it's he's in the prison putting like straightening his hair. You know, the guys telling them like, you know, you're bleaching your skin, all that stuff. Like it was around that era too, where like
Right.
that was a thing to appear
Right.
more white
A
was
bit
the
more white, or I
right.
guess in Rosa Parks' case, she could pass somewhat
Yeah,
as more ethnically ambiguous.
right.
So
It's like the quarter
it would
zip meme, you know?
right. So
Like
she, I guess, in terms of the marketing at that time, she would have looked more presentable, I guess, versus a darker skinned teenage girl. So, um, so no, and funny enough, I've heard this before in terms of Rosa Parks wasn't the first, and again, as you said, it's not hard to believe any of this because, as I said, with Chris Smalls, same thing. He became the face
yeah.
of that strike, Amazon strike. But we've interviewed, well, Indy has especially interviewed many people associated with that the mainstream media will never know,
Never touch.
who
Yeah.
will never touch for whatever reason. Um, but it's always, and yeah, and I'm sure, and we talk to those people, you know, that they can't help but to feel some type of animosity that this person is getting all the praise while they essentially are doing the work or have been doing the work and haven't gotten that. Not to say they're looking for that airtime,
Recognition,
but they're
but
also
like
looking for that recognition too.
right.
So, so I think it's very important. I think, especially in independent media, and this is what we try to do, is to try and highlight as many perspectives and voices as possible, so we can get a more nuanced but a greater, larger picture of like the reality of issues and how different people might respond to the same issue. But but yeah, I thought it was interesting because again, not to knock Rosa for, you know, her activism, because you know, given she was affiliated with the NAACP, you know, obviously she was connected. They were like probably working on this anyway. Fine, we will take that, you know, but that's not to, oh, it shouldn't overshadow the hundreds, if not thousands, of people who did that same thing
Yeah.
quietly. And you will never know their names because of whatever reason that we will never know in history. So, so I thought it was important to kind of give that perspective. But you brought this clip because I think you found this on Reddit.
Yep.
So if you want to kind of explain the basis of this,
Well, I just felt like
if you don't mind.
this is still happening. Like it's not like this is ancient history where you know we fixed it, boys. We boycotts happened and everything's fine. Like no,
Right.
it's still happening. U.S. military police have suspended solo patrols in Okinawa after they wrongly body slammed and detained an American civilian who was visiting and not under their jurisdiction. And this Obatunse, as a black man, it's crazy how you could travel to another side of the world and still experience police brutality from a local American patrol unit. Like you go literally all the way to the other side of the planet, and like you got to deal with this.
What the? Yo, what are you doing? I told you not to. You have no right to touch me right now. Get the video, bro. What is your name? What is your name?
Like, I mean, for what reason? Don't know. I mean, did you pull the article or whatever?
Existing.
Well, yes. Existing while black. That was his crime.
Yeah. Right.
Like, but yeah, I mean, just sad we're still dealing with the same shit over and over,
Yeah. Which is
Like,
why I think hearing these stories, especially from Margaret Birch, the woman that we just played, I think is especially important because we idolize a lot of these people that's not necessarily through no fault of our own, but they often become the benchmark or the trademark of certain movements of progress, when we also need to recognize the people who may not have gotten that same recognition, but were also doing the work, if not more. And
So
so
this guy were posted Sunday on a Facebook account that belonged to Garlic Sensations, a sole seafood truck in the Washington, D.C. area. Identified the man as Kareem Farrakhan, a former Marine captain and brother of the truck owner. So that's who they arrested. You know,
right.
Said he had no right to touch me. I'm just looking for anything in particular. Accompanied by Okinawa Prefectural Police, like, you know, supposedly go around the nightclub area of Okinawa. And the reason is usually that there's American Marines doing fuck shit over there, you know?
Right.
Because there's that base there. So.
Looking for a fun time.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, they're still not allowed to fucking do that shit. So, like, it's just kind of crazy. But anyway, that's what I brought to this discussion.
Sure.
So,
but I think once again, I think it's just important. We need to uncover these hidden histories to get a larger understanding. And I think we have to be somewhat critical of the people that we are kind of thrown in our face, especially in history, like in school, as to like, this is a person that did this is a person that did that. And we have to maybe question a little bit as to why are they highlighting these people overly so, and kind of, and who else was involved that we may not necessarily hear from or know about unless you do your own research. So that's what we try and do here. And that's probably one of the reasons why we are demonetized. So if you want to support us, especially as we head into the new year, you can scan the QR code you see on your screen, or you can go to the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen. If you're in the YouTube chat and we are live right now, you can type in !donate if you've forgotten the link, and the link will pop up in the chat, and you can donate as little as $1 will help. And as I said, all your proceeds will help towards going towards helping us, maintain the network and this channel for the upcoming year, so we're able to pay our bills, as well as maybe to support other members in the network for any equipment they might need, which we're able to do this year. Obviously we know it's the holidays; people are kind of stretched for cash. Sorry. So if you want to support us, the free way is to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you leave a comment. So were you guys aware of were you guys surprised that Rosa Parks may not have been the first in terms of her protest on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama? Were you aware of Birch's story that, of Claudette Colvin, that there was a 15-year-old girl, Covette, who did this months before she did, but she didn't get any recognition in the press, or barely any. What are your thoughts on that? And what's a way, in your opinion, that we can, highlight the people who may not always get recognition, that we're able to somewhat recognize them in our history? So let us know in the comments or in the chat what you think. And thanks for watching.